What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Real Spit from a Gangsta Gone Legit. Before we get started, I'm gonna need you to hit that like and smash that subscribe button. Today's guest is my man Darrin. What's up, G?
What's going on, man?
Oh man, it ain't nothing, bro. Glad to have you, man.
Pleasure to be here.
Oh man, you're doing a lot of good things in the community, man. So I want to jump right into it, man. Let's let everybody know who is Darrin.
Darrin Howell, lifelong resident of the Dorchester community, born and raised here in Boston, 39 years old, father to three, twin daughters, stepson, daughters are 17, son is 20, last of 12 siblings, so come from a very large family, and someone that, definitely had the experience of the urban environment, went through some of the trials and tribulations of just being attracted to what was in front of me, and definitely had to learn the hard way sometimes that way ain't the way that you need to travel down. But can't say it helped to make the person I am today, so I can't say I regret anything.
Okay. So let's go back to growing up. How would you say you came up? Did you come up with your mother and father in the same household? Or?
Yep, so like I mentioned, I'm the last of 12. My pops had 10 children prior to me and my mom's. There's a 20-year age gap between the two. And my mom's had 2 children, me and my older brother. So they were both in the same household, but the family was fairly large and split up as well.
Okay. So when you were younger, did you find yourself with the problems that most young brothers have, which are joining gangs or selling drugs or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. At an early age, we didn't come from a silver spoon background. Seeing some of the things that folks had during that era. I was born in '82, so watching the residuals of the crack epidemic and just seeing the flashiness and wanting to have some of those materialistic things and recognizing the only way to get it is to get out there and try to figure it out. Selling drugs, that was what was available. That I seemed to be good at. I was good at it very early in terms of making sure that not only I was supporting my own habit, but being able to help others in peace.
Okay. So, would you say you were a mid-level drug dealer? Were you kingpin status? Like, how serious were you in the game?
So, I want to say I graduated to what's considered, I think, the highest level of the product I chose to pursue. So I fucked with the weed.
No. This is real spit, brother. Yeah, so, this is uncensored here, bro.
So I fucked with the weed game. So graduated up to being considered a plug or a connect. Definitely understand what it is to sell pounds of weed to get deals coming in. But I want to say I grew into the space. Like started out getting put on, someone giving me something just because they were tired of me coming back and forth to their house, making it hot. So it was more. Take this, bring back some change later, and you keep a little something on the side. And being that type of middleman role, I grew in that space over years.
Now, did you ever get locked up for selling drugs or guns or anything like that?
Yep. So my first time getting locked up they charged me with disorderly conduct. Long story behind it, but I was arrested with. Officer son. So they ended up charging me with disorderly conduct as a teenager, and then at 18 I got distribution in the school zone, got caught with possession, 5 bags of weed on me, so got locked up then, ended up beating that case at 18, but...
Speak up a little bit?
Ended up beating that case at 18, so at 18 in high school senior year I got arrested for selling weed, beat that case, but got kicked out of the house at the same time. So at 18, I was on my own, trying to figure out how to navigate now, trying to find rent, pay rent, had a job after school, and I had an open case, so trying to figure out if I was going to beat the case, because direct possession in the school zone held 2.5 years. I got caught physically with it on me, so was looking like that was going to be a vacation down the road, but God's grace, I guess. I didn't get that experience then. For the next 3 years, really dibbled and dabbled in the street life, selling weed, carrying guns, trying to make it to 21, which was always my goal as a young man, was just wanted to feel like I was alive and a man by 21. And at 21, I picked up 5 criminal cases ranging from distribution and trafficking of weed to gun possession, assault with intent to murder, just a whole array of charges out of the 5 cases. So from March to September, I picked up 6 cases, in which I eventually was held for 1 year. So 2003 to 2004, I was incarcerated. And while incarcerated, one of my older sisters passed away from cancer, and my twin daughters were born while on the side. So definitely understand those type of moments you can never get back.
Right.
I understood that experience well.
So you had 6 cases, and you did a year in jail.
Yeah.
Where'd you do your time?
South Bay.
So basically the county time.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, after doing your year, is that where you decided that it was time to change your life, or did that not even play a factor?
I think that the reality to coming home to twin children, knowing that I had a Corey now that had some significant charges, that how am I going to navigate in the world of where I was gainfully employed prior to jail. So I worked in a lot of different corporate settings, whether it was a bank, a hospital, insurance company, while at the same time dabbling in the streets. So when I finally got jammed up on my release was, how was I going to get employed to provide for the children? Didn't want to go back. I think, after, I think anyone says 3 months, after 3 months you realize, is this a place you want to keep going back to? So after the year, definitely didn't want to go back, but the reality is trying to get a job with a Corey wasn't nothing readily available. The pistol in the package is, right there waiting for you on your release. So that definitely was offered. Like, here you go to try to get on your feet. But the reality was, a year away from the game, take some time to try to get back into it. Wasn't motivated to get in. It didn't get released saying, I'm about to go harder or this and that. It was more or less like, how do I just provide right now? Now that I got a responsibility I didn't have when I left. I wanted to be that father.
So that year was enough time for you to get it right.
At least to be motivated to want to get it out. Now the reality on the release was what's in front of me.
Right.
This 9 to 5 ain't giving me enough to do what I need to do.
Right.
And this package is available. I'm going to try to figure out if I can do both.
Right. So I also understand that there was a guy who was a political figure who had something to do with you really changing your life. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Let them know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, so the late Honorable Councilor Chuck Turner, he was a Boston City councilor. He was a strong advocate for criminal justice reform. And at the time, around 2006, it was about 2 years after my release, going through all the different training programs and things that were available, just wasn't getting me the job that I needed. Now I'm knee deep into the lifestyle with selling weed, so I'm moving pounds, and the reality from that was like, I'm going to get jammed up. I started seeing the writing at the end of, the light at the end of the road was not going to be me being some quick celebrity and star, that I was going to make it from, distribution based on the role I was in. I felt that it was inevitable that I'll either get jammed up or the grave or the penitentiary was inevitable. Playing, and I wanted to get out for that reason. I seen one of my good friends get killed.
You witnessed.
I didn't witness it, but I
you went through it.
Yeah, and it was one of those, like, I went through my own situations. I got touched while being in the game. That wasn't the thing that scared me, but it was the reality.
So you got touched, meaning what? You got shot?
I got robbed.
You got robbed.
Pistol whipped.
So you became a victim of what it was you were selling, and you got set up and pistol whipped around.
So went through that, and then when my people was getting killed after a similar type situation, was like, all right, I can't, the writing's on the wall. If I keep playing, eventually this can be my reality, and
right.
It don't take much for someone to take a chance when you're playing at a certain level.
Right.
And that just comes with it. Started to recognize that the game is just what the game is, and in order to not get caught up, you got to stay playing.
So no pun intended, but that crack in the head had you thinking more like, man, is this what I want to do, or do I want to pick this pistol up and go straight in that, or I mean, that kind of had you start thinking twice, right?
It was a combination of that, right? Because the reality was too, like, that type of situation can either make or break someone, right? Like, and still wanted to feel comfortable navigating and moving in the streets. So there was a response. No one got hurt, and that's fortunate. But the reality was, there has to be some type of response there. It's either you're gonna stay in and have to try to figure out how to make sure it doesn't happen again, or you get completely out. And I didn't want the reputation of this scared me out of it because I shouldn't have been doing what I knew could eventually happen anyway. So to pay the debt off and then to have to jump back in and see other people become victim of it, it was like, nah, I need a way out. And my way out for me was, can I do both?
Right.
And I treat the hustle like it's supposed to be a hustle and have a 9 to 5 that I can depend on. And I couldn't find the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't for the Counselor Turner, who met me when I went through temp agencies to get gainfully employed. So I went through staffing agencies, and that was the way to get a job. Someone fired me, and they fired me because of my record. My record had nothing to do with the job I was doing. So that's what made me more like, wow, every time I'm trying to get ahead and I can start seeing the light this way,
right?
This knocks me back into what I know is available. And who wants to keep going through that emotional rejection every time after showing and proving you're the best person?
So when you were getting rejected and you got fired, did that make you say, man, I might as well go back to selling drugs? Absolutely.
Yep.
Right?
I actually said a prayer after this last job. That's why I know there's a higher power. I said, if my life has any meaning or any purpose, show me or I'll see you soon. And from there, I got a call from my aunt that really knew everything about the lifestyle that I've lived, and she asked me to call Counselor Turner. And I didn't know him from a hole in the wall, so I didn't know what he did, I didn't know what his job was, and I was more or less, after 2 years, tired of calling people, sharing this experience, and still getting, rejected, not getting any support, not getting any direction. So I told her he would be the last person I would call, and then I was just I felt like I was committed to being knee deep on the other side. Like, let's figure out if I can make it work.
I mean, it's always easier to go back to what you know, and a lot of us do that. We can't get that job we want, and man, fuck this back to slinging, so I get that. And I applaud you for being able to stay strong with that and continue to not look back and go forward and become the man that you become today. Which, let them know what you do today.
So on a local scene here in Boston, Massachusetts, I'm a political operative. I'm a political coordinator for the largest healthcare workers union in the nation. On a national scene, I'm a national political operative where I'm responsible for helping strategic and tactical approaches to campaigns, whether it's candidate or issue-based. Some of the things that people know me for is the Fight for 15, which was increasing the minimum wage here in our state. Paid family medical leave, earned sick time. So anybody in the labor field, I always tell them, like, if you worked in construction, you didn't get a day off if you were sick.
Right.
That's now on your pay stub, you're accumulating hours that you can take a day off if you have a sick day.
Okay.
That's all political, right? The industry didn't.
And that's something you did.
Exactly. So those are the things that I stay involved in now. The work that got me started was I was constituent service director when I didn't even know what the word constituent was or meant. Chuck Turner hired me, really exposed me to the political landscape, how to navigate within the political arena, and I got addicted to it. There's so much parallel to what goes on in politics and what goes on in the streets, and I think series like The Wire showed there's a parallel to how things are going on in the political space and how things are going on right in the streets, and how there's that intersectionality that exists with both. So seeing it from a lens of being on both sides, it's
so do you
cool.
think?
I don't know any other
So you think you chose the right side to be on now?
Absolutely. Like, I get to see the benefits of it. Like, I can say I've now been in this work for the last 15 years to be able to say that I'm now trying to create generational wealth. My daughters are, like I said, 17. I'm around and physically around that I can see them and watch them grow, be there during the challenging times. My son, he just took a job working for the mayor. He's been there, next week makes 6 months, so he's doing exactly what I was doing in the city council office. So to see what they're doing and that they could have chose either way because they were exposed to both the community atmosphere here in Boston.
So being that you've transitioned from the streets to, I'll say, the Gangsta Gone Legit, like, as you're wearing the shirt now, and you've been supportive of this brand since we've been doing it, and also of the real spit from the Gangsta Gone Legit. So that leads me to two questions. One, why do you support Gangsta Gone Legit? What is it about this brand that you like?
So when I was young, there was a book I read, and it's interesting because I thought it was like the manuscript for being in the streets, like what's the do's and don'ts. And it was and rest in peace because he just passed away, Samuel Shakur. Monster Cody, the autobiography of the LA gang member.
That's right, I read that.
So reading that book at 12, 13 years old, it's not the right book for someone that's attracted or want to be in the streets.
Right.
So wanting to live that type of lifestyle, being involved in those type of activities, just being a part of that world was something that I aspired to be. And to see, like, I ended up taking my war wounds and battle scars and had to take some of those losses to now shift over and to see the it's so simple, but it's so impactful, the message in Gangsta Gone Legit. So when I seen it, and then I know of your history, as I shared, like, I didn't know you personally, but I knew of you growing up. So to see the credibility behind the brand, it made too much sense to be supportive, to rock it once I got my own shirt. And since I do a lot of traveling, I want that type of moniker to be known, like, listen, I'm not with the funny stuff. I'm here to do some good in the hood, and I don't want to be, don't look at my young youthfulness as something that you can take advantage of.
Right.
I know I look much younger.
Absolutely.
Than I actually,
you look a lot younger than you actually are. A lot younger. Yeah, man, that's deep, man. I like that. Explanation. That was real. Okay, so you explained the Gangsta Gone Legit, and what's the other question I just said to you?
Now you asked why did I support it?
No. And the question was the real spit from a Gangsta Gone Legit, the actual podcast that we're on.
Oh, the OGs. Like I was attracted to the images and the figures of these of the individuals that you bring on there. Whether I know them personally, whether they're from this city or not, like, it's that imagery. Just like I said, a book had so much impact on how I viewed how I wanted to live my life as a young man, because I read it when all of the madness was going on in the city, right? So it's like, well, if you're going to get in it, you better recognize what could be expected to come from being in it. And you can choose to stay on the sidewalk, but if you choose to get on the streets or get in the streets, you got it. So when I see the different people and their perspectives and seeing that they got to the other side, one thing I've been a believer is it's not about the message of peace, but the messenger of peace.
The messengers of peace, I like that. Right.
So someone told me this phrase years ago, like, this message was old when the pyramids were new. Like, so what you all are saying is that, yeah, you can go down these obstacles and have these challenges, but you feel so much better getting to the other side of that you don't want to be in that space. And so how does someone that's in it get out when they have to see somebody that they can relate to? So to see more and more people that you highlight on this series, is like, why wouldn't I want to keep feeding my soul? Like, I feel like it's good to be able to say, I take what y'all are spitting and I apply it to my son, to the younger generations, because that generational connect, right? Like you are OG. I might be a G to that, but we're disconnected from the generation that's in play now.
Right.
So how do we pass on that message of, he's credible right there. You need to.
Right. And that's who we're doing this for. So that's good that you acknowledge that. So being that you follow Real Spit from the Gangsta Gone Legit, you obviously are aware that I always say that the streets love no one.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that? Do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely. I agree. Like, being in the game, in the lifestyle, it's like, you can't be mad at the streets for being the streets. Like, there's not all good days in the streets. There's more bad days in the streets than there are actually good days, because when the bad day comes, it's ongoing. It doesn't just be that case. It's that pre-trial probation. It's the trial. It's the anxiety. It's all these other things that come with it that, in my opinion, supersede that memorable moment at the club. So the streets, you can't be mad at it for being what it is. It's never said it loved anyone.
Never.
And so
we just thought we were manipulated to believe that it loved someone, and that's why we always did what we did and put our all into these streets. You know what I mean?
And then get it back in return.
And then get it back in return. Exactly. And that's the point. And that's what I'm hoping that our interviews and when the young brothers hear, and even some of the older brothers, because it's inspiring to a lot of us, right? But when they hear some of our stories, man, because what I've learned is it doesn't matter where you come from. This isn't a platform that's about the toughest gangster or the biggest drug dealer. There's a lot of podcasts for that, if that's what you guys want to go on. This one is just about change, because that's what Gangsta Gone Legit represents, right? And your change, like, okay, you only did a year. That doesn't mean your story is not impactful or less credible because you didn't do 10 years or 20 years in prison. So what I want people to understand is when you come on this format, I don't need you to sit and lie and try to boast and make yourself more than you were. Just be who you are. You know what I mean? Period. And believe me, that will change somebody's life. Somebody will hear something you say and be inspired by your story. You know what I mean?
And it's so interesting because throughout this journey, I've had to say that to so many folks that I know have done lengthy sentences, that a cell is a cell. You by yourself. But if you got a lot more time, then you got more mental probably things that you have to work on. So it's never taking the credit from someone. But I said, when you look on a piece of paper, I got judged the same way as anybody else. If they see guns, drugs, and this and that, they're gonna look at me as, what are we gonna do? Do we take this person or do we take the person with no paperwork?
Right.
And they're gonna take the person hands down every single time.
And you said something earlier about, having the court cases and it makes me think and wonder if that plays, that lifestyle, that street lifestyle, I believe that's why a lot of us have anxiety, a lot of us have high blood pressure, you know what I mean? A lot of us have a lot of illnesses, PTSD, all these things that come from that, because, I can remember a time, man, where, like, that was the norm. To another court case, I got another case, and it's stressful. You know what I mean? And I don't think at the time when we're in it, we realize the impact it has on us. But right now, where I know I have no court cases, man, it's so
a level of freedom.
It's definitely, absolutely, it's a big level of freedom. It's like, man, it's almost like not looking over your shoulder. Like, as you see, we're in the middle of the park right now. There's people all over from everywhere up here, right? And there's no concern. I'm not worried. But if this was back in the day and I was still active,
we like this.
We got what's up with this cop? You know what I'm saying? So it's. But I think what we miss is that a lot of times when we're in those streets, that we're setting ourselves up for the futures that a lot of us have with the illnesses and all of that, and that's from the PTSD, the mental health is serious. It's real. From the guys who have done long, lengthy sentences, that takes a toll on you mentally. We don't talk about that. We don't get into that enough, and I think that's going to be a segment that we have. And
I tell people proudly and publicly, I've been in therapy every Monday. I start my week off for the last 2 years in therapy.
That's dope.
Because I had to learn that compounded trauma is real.
Yeah.
Right? You go through one thing, and then before you can even process what you went through, something else is going on.
That's right.
So you never actually get the
and what's that called? Say that again?
Compounded trauma.
Compounded trauma.
Where you just keep, so someone brings you a cake, and it's like, I need you to eat all this cake. And it's like, before you even put the spoon in, someone brings you the same size cake, and it just keeps coming, and you're like, I can't deal with the first cake, let alone the 50 cakes that you got in front of me. So that brings that PTSD, that brings that anxiety, that brings all of, and so I've had to learn that trauma's going to come out one way or another if you don't learn how to spot your triggers, understand what you're going through, and it takes a lot to just open up to a complete stranger to share, but it's been the most rejuvenating because now I think before I react versus just react and deal with the consequences as they come.
Before I let you go, brother, I want to say to you what I say to all my guests. What would you tell the younger brother out there right now that's watching this? What message would you have for him? The brother who's in the streets right now, active, whether it's selling drugs or gang banging, whatever it is he's doing. What message do you have for him?
understand at a certain age, you have a choice. Whether you want to, blame all of the experiences that you've been through to being where you're at. Once you recognize where you're at, you have a choice whether or not to stay there or to move forward in a different direction. And if you choose to move forward in a different direction, look for those around that can support you in that different direction, because the crab in a barrel mentality is real. People do not want to see you elevate beyond where they may feel they're currently at. So I would tell my younger self to don't be afraid to do something different.
Dope. Listen, man, on that note, man, this has been another edition of Real Spit from a Gangsta Gone Legit. Thank you, Darrin, for coming through, sharing your love, your story. We appreciate you, man. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the support, man.
Always.
Keep wearing that GGL. You look good in it, bro. Peace.